The paramedics got it started again, but her brain went without oxygen for too long. He wanted to run more tests tomorrow to check her brain function better. Oliver kept pulling on my sleeve, asking when we could go back to Nana's house for lunch. Dr. Wong's face stayed gentle while he warned me that 40 minutes without oxygen usually meant bad damage. The ICU had rules about kids not being allowed, but the nurses let Oliver stay. He wouldn't eat his crackers unless he could see Nana and kept crying every time we tried to leave. I had to keep him busy with coloring books while doctors kept coming in with more information. Constance said she could arrange volunteers to watch Oliver during important meetings if I needed. That night, I sat in the hard plastic chair next to Miss Nyla's bed holding Oliver. He finally fell asleep against my chest with his thumb in his mouth. I kept thinking about that first night 3 years ago when she brought me to her house. She made me chamomile tea and let me cry for hours without asking any questions. She just kept saying "you're safe now" over and over until I finally believed her. Now I was the one whispering those same words to her still body under all the tubes. Oliver shifted in my sleep, and I realized we were basically orphans without her. The fear from yesterday kept washing over me in waves that made my hands shake. My father's purple face screaming that Ms. Nyla was a predator kept playing in my head. His threat to tell everyone what she really was made my stomach twist into knots. Constance must have noticed my breathing getting weird because she asked if there were safety concerns. I told her about my father showing up yesterday and what he said about Ms. Nyla. She wrote something on her clipboard and said she'd put a note in the system right away. That night, after Oliver finally went to sleep on the little cot they brought, I read Miss Nyla's papers. The advance directive spelled out everything in legal words about ventilators and feeding tubes. My eyes kept getting blurry reading the part that said no artificial life support if there's no hope. She'd written a personal note at the bottom in blue pen. It said she watched Marina suffer on machines for 3 weeks and never wanted that. The weight of everything crashed down on me all at once in the hallway. I couldn't breathe and my chest felt like someone was sitting on it. Constance found me bent over by the vending machines, gasping for air. She showed me how to breathe in for 4 counts and hold it. She kept her hand on my back, saying I wasn't alone in this. She gave me a paper about grief that I shoved in my pocket without reading. The next morning, this older woman named Betty showed up wearing a volunteer vest. She said she could take Oliver to the playroom while I met with the doctors. I didn't want to let him go with someone I didn't know, but I needed to actually hear what the doctors were saying without him pulling on me. Betty had this soft grandmother way about her that Oliver seemed to like. He grabbed his favorite book that Nana always read him about the hungry caterpillar. Betty promised they'd read it together and maybe do some puzzles. I watched them walk down the hall with my heart pounding, but I had to trust her. Constance was already waiting for me in a small meeting room down the hall with papers spread across the table and a man in a wrinkled button-down shirt sitting next to her.